What's up, y'all? You're now listening to the What Now podcast. I'm Dr. Spencer Dupre, owner of Empower Chiropractic.
And I am Dr. Zach Thompson, owner of Within Chiropractic. The purpose of this podcast is to document and share the experiences of two young business owners as we open our own brick and mortar chiropractic practices. Join along as we discuss all of our wins, our losses, insights, and the many, many lessons we learned.
As a disclaimer, none of this is ever intended to be medical, legal, or financial advice. Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the What Now podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Spencer Dupre with Empower Chiropractic in Argyle, here with my good friend, colleague, peer, homie, Dr. Zach Thompson.
What's up, y'all? What's going on? Welcome to the What Now podcast. Super excited to dive into everything we unpacked today.
Nice. Well, Zach, what are we getting into this week? How was your last week? Give us a win. Tell us what's up.
Yeah, last week was a really great week. We had some awesome experiences going on. I would say two of the bigger wins is we talked last week on the podcast, and if you hadn't listened, I would go back and listen because this won't make too much sense, but we finally are feeling like we have our phone scripts down for when people call in and things like that. And my office manager, Joshua, is absolutely crushing it. He's gone, I think, 4 or 5 for 5 on the last few phone calls, which maybe as a student doesn't sound that great, but as you get into practice, those phone calls can be daunting. So he's absolutely crushing it. Just for example, basically from February until last week, so February until the middle of April, we were probably 1 for 3 on average, so about 33%, and now we've gone back up to 100%. And I could be missing things. I don't know. I don't listen to every phone call, but he is very pumped. And a big thing that has helped in that, just so maybe you're like, well, what was the flip? It wasn't necessarily anything in the wording or anything in the script itself. It was more in the intention. And we had a really big discussion on what it means for someone to sign on for a new patient exam or someone to come on to care. And I just let him know, I was like, hey man, just so this isn't to put pressure on you, but it might help change the tone in which you're looking to bring or get someone onto the schedule, is if for whatever reason they say no to us, unless they're going to see another chiropractor, they're most likely going to end up either needing surgery, needing pain pills, whatever it may be, or just being completely crippled. And that just helped him be more I want to say like nurturing in his tone and more receptive to learning what's going on with them and not necessarily just trying to get them on the schedule. So that was a huge twist for us, and something I realized needs to be a reminder or more on the forefront is yes, our mission and our vision, but what are the other possibilities for the people? Because it's not like we're Chipotle or Chick-fil-A where if someone doesn't go with us, they're just going to go down the street to another restaurant. They're going to go to a whole nother realm of health. And to me, that's not even really health. So for us, that was a huge win. And yeah, man, what about you?
That's really good, man. That's good. Yeah, win for me, kind of stabilizing up. Actually, I hit my 6-month goal today. And today is actually the 6th month on the nose for me being open. So that's awesome. So in terms of collections, so we broke through that, and actually I'm like 130% above my goal. So that's really solid.
That's huge.
Yeah, that feels really good. It feels really good because it feels good to know that it hasn't been the main thing in my focus. It was a goal. It was like, this is what it would be nice to get to. But I want my work and my ethics and my integrity and the service that I provide to be, that is what I want to be compensated for at this level of practice. And to know that I am worth it and that other people deem the services worth it enough for us to hit those goals is awesome. It means that we're conveying value well. It means that we are conveying our message clearly, and it means that we're doing a good job, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that's huge. That's definitely huge. And I think too, as a new business, we talked a little bit last week
about it not being all about the monetary, but more on the mission and vision. And I think that's definitely something to keep on the forefront. And I know that's something my office manager and I have talked about a lot is yes, we're in this to make money, and at the same time, we never want to compromise our values for the sake of a quick buck. So props to you. That's huge to hit that collections goal. Um, and yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You're doing all the right things, and you're keeping it as lean and mean as possible. So proud of you, man. That's dope.
Yeah, I think too, and I mean, we talk about this all the time. Money is like sand, dude. The tighter you hold on to it, the more it slips out of your fingers. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I've been spending more money on stuff, and therefore collecting more money, which has been
Yep.
great. Because,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, just started The Wealthy Gardener. It's a solid book. Thank you for the recommendation. It's
You're
really good.
welcome. Highly recommend
Yep.
to everyone.
Yeah, dude. Another thing that I highly recommend people listen to is Ed Milet and Matthew McConaughey's podcast that just came out. Solid,
Yeah.
solid,
I
really
listened
good.
to I listened to McConaughey's episode with Lewis Howes, and that was also really good. So I'm curious if there's any difference, but yeah, McConaughey's on another level right now. It's really cool. I mean, to hear a guy from Hollywood speak about Christ and his relationship with God is really cool. And yeah, so would definitely recommend.
Yeah, it's been really good. Yeah, so he's talking about like, all right, I mean, his book is like green lights, right? And green lights are like whenever you're doing all the things, for you, like you're just doing all the things and everything is just like falling into place and things are happening just very naturally without you putting a lot of uh like trudge forward effort. What are some green lights that you have been realizing that have been going on in your practice
Can you
or just
explain that
in your life? So, like, what are
green?
some things that, yeah, what do you feel like is being very, very beneficial and productive for you that seems effortless right now? What are some right things that you feel like you're doing? What feels right to you in your life?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I've had enough time under tension to really answer that question. I would say I think I don't know. I get a little caught up in that because I think anything worth doing requires effort. Um,
Like, what are just some things that you're like, this is good. I enjoy doing this. And like, what are some things that seem very effortless for you?
Man, that's a hard question.
For me, like it's networking. Like I just really enjoy it. Like
Yeah, I
it's
would.
been fruitful for the business. I enjoy connecting with people. I look forward to doing it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think for me,
but it's really
one thing for me is social media. I think right now we're getting to a point where, I think we talked about this on a prior episode, but when you're first in there, when you're first starting, you have so much time to make social media posts and uh, create reels and all this and that. And then now it's gotten to a point where I have it a little bit more systematized, and so we can produce and post. But I think the messaging is really starting to come through clearly. But at the same time, there's still so much to do. And then for me, I think work-life balance has been pretty effortless for the most part. One thing I struggled with when I was independent contracting out in Dallas was always thinking I had to be working and doing and doing and doing, and just created this very anxious and comparative, like, well, I worked really hard yesterday and we got a new patient, and then I went to bed at 9 p.m. and didn't work out the next day and we didn't get a new patient. And so I was just comparing all the time to that. And now it is almost a green light or effortless where if I want to work when I get home, I work. And if I need to rest, I rest. Or if I need to connect with
mm,
Morgan, we connect. And so it seems to flow really well. And I don't feel like I have that uh, need to always be efforting.
that's good. That's good. What are some things that you do that is like, what are some things that you do for the life part? What are you doing right now?
Exercise is always one. Uh, for me, exercise, yes, it's great for my body, but to me, it's more on the mental aspect of things. I'm
Yep.
just a lot more clear when I get a workout in. A lot of walking, a lot of playing with Morgan's dog. I almost said our dog, but not yet. Morgan's
It's
dog.
y'all's dog.
Bentley, great dog. We have a lot of fun times wrestling. And then, man, I'm gonna sound like the anti-entrepreneur, but I love just mindlessly scrolling on TikTok. It's one of the few ways my brain actually shuts off. And so to me, it's like I equate it to our parents watching, an hour of TV before they went to bed. That's kind of my thing. And then every once in a while reading. And then another big one is just getting in God's word. So two very different things, right? Mindlessly scrolling on TikTok and then getting in the Bible, but balance.
TikTok, man. TikTok. I'm gonna like pride myself on not having a TikTok for the longest time. I'm like, I think that's how I know that I'm getting older. Is I'm like, no, on that end. But
Cool.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like if I'm not in the gym on certain days, I feel like I'm less clear. My body needs like that movement. I need that effort. I need that internal struggle. I need
Yep.
that internal conflict.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I mean my CBI doctor, he told me, I was like, what's the biggest key? He said, work harder outside of practice than you do inside of practice, and the practice will be
Hmm.
easy.
Yeah, and I
And I
think,
was like,
we both did a lot of KTC. I mean, we did a frick ton of KTC in school, right? And then one of the major principles was always push your body outside of your 10%. And I think that whole principle, along with a lot of other things in KTC, really helped train my mind, body, and spirit to be ready for practice, in the sense that we pushed it 2-3 times a week, and some days at KTC were a lot harder than in school. And I'm just taking that principle with us, like you just said, like push your body a lot harder outside the business than inside. And I think that's something that often goes uh unspoken about, or just missed, is the idea of, pushing yourself 10% out of your comfort zone. Especially in business, we just get so caught up in everything we need to do that we're like, I just want to go in the gym and I want to walk for 30 minutes, feel good about my body. But it's like, no, you gotta really push yourself and see what you're made of. And that's a big reason I did the marathon. It's a big reason I was with a buddy of mine from back in college, and we were powerlifting partners. And so we were squatting like 400, 500, 600 pounds back then. And he still powerlifts. I do not powerlift. And I was like, I'll keep up with you for as long as I can. And it was so sad, man. I got the bar up to 225, and I was like, I'll hit this for 5, and that's going to be about it for me. And he just kept going, and I was like, man, this stinks. I used to be stronger than you, but it
you can
still
still
was
bench 225 after your pec?
no squat. This was squat.
Oh,
I think I could bench 225 if I really wanted to, but I'll
I was
never.
like, dang.
My ego is large, but I don't think it'll be ever that large. So
Like, man, that's some like crazy raw strength to tear your pec and just be like, yeah, I just hit 225 for 5.
that
It's
would be
crazy.
pretty cool. I think I could do it though. I
Adam
th
probably is like that.
I think I could walk into a gym. I don't know about like day one, but I think if you gave me a week, 2 weeks to really prep my body for the bench, I think I could do 225. I hope so.
All right.
My college coach, I'm not going to do it because the internal rotation on my pec I won't be able to practice for a week. But my college offensive line coach, we would 1 rep max bench squat deadlift, and then he would get the numbers from the strength coach, and we'd be in our O line meeting. And there'd be some guys, I mean, we're big dudes, right? There's like some dudes 300 pounds, 315, and they couldn't bench their body weight. And he would just always make the comment. He's like, so you're telling me you fell face down in a puddle, you would drown? Basically, it's because they couldn't push themselves up, which I always got a good chuckle out of. But
That's
so
fun.
I hope I could bench my body weight, which is about 225.
Dang. Yeah. 225 right now, I think is my 1 rep max. Yeah. I've never been a big bench press guy.
Yeah,
Um,
I would like to think I could at least do 185. I mean, at one point I benched 405, so that was hopefully I can go back to that. Not hopefully back
man,
to that, but
do
yeah,
you feel like in KTC you like really pushed your body like super hard?
there were some days, I think, for sure. Um,
Really?
I think
I
just
don't
like
know
in the
if I ever felt that. Like okay, this is let me rephrase the question because I don't want to sound like, oh, like it was easy for me. But do you think that the challenge that KTC presented to you, like training for chiropractic, do you think it was a physical one? Like, was that your biggest challenge physically? Was it the physical part of it?
I mean, I think it was every aspect. I think it was a combination for sure. Um, I mean, there were physical days for sure. I I would leave days sweating and stuff. So it wasn't like the hardest training session of my life ever, but it definitely pushed me physically.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
interesting. For me, the part that I enjoyed about KTC and where I thought the challenge was like staying present. Because like my mind like goes like all over the place and like it will bounce. And I like have a very tough time like being present in the moment. And um I think that was the most challenging part for me, especially because we do like so much self-awareness.
Hmm.
And I think that was the hardest part for me. And so like in the gym, like I've never really been like, oh dude, like let me see how hard I can push this body. Like let me see like how much I can go. Like Nick Bayer like talks about it all the time. Like let me just see what my like full physical capacity is.
Yeah.
I like don't have like any of that one. Like my like in the gym, like recently, dude, I've been feeling so good and I've actually been like um seeing a lot of really good results by like really doing less, but like being super intentional like with my reps. Like today, like I did like strict press for 20 minutes, like every minute on the minute. And so I did like I don't know what that is, but I did like 50 overhead strict presses like in a row and at like 95 pounds, and I felt like but all of them were like super clean, super. But that was the hardest challenge was like for me to stay focused on that
Yeah.
one task.
Yeah, and I
And
think that's one of the best things about KTC is it offers a different perspective for everyone. I know there were some people that would show up and what would be an easy workout for guys like you and I would, people would be straining, I mean, we had Darian pull his hamstring, both hamstrings,
that's
and so I mean there
not
is a
funny, but it is.
yeah, but it offers a different challenge for everyone. I think it's a
Yeah,
multifaceted tool to really, I mean, it does elevate the chiropractic profession in what it can offer.
for
Uh,
sure. I think that's why I hate running. I think that's why I don't like running is because it's hard for me to stay focused
yeah,
on running.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think that's why I just hate it so much. I get so bored.
yeah,
Like after I'm like,
that's one
man,
of the reasons I did the marathon was because I hated running. One, because I'm not built like a runner. People listening to the podcast, if you've never seen me, I'm 5'11", 230. Like I'm like a short version of Charles Barkley, you know, like I'm just a large mountain rebound. And I say that loving my body. I'm not like trying to discredit myself. I just mean it. We're like, I'm not built to run. And so one, physically that was really hard, but also I do a lot of cycling. So on the bike, and that allows me to, I have to stay focused because if I don't stay focused, I'll hit a pothole or I'll get hit by a car, right? There's repercussions to losing focus. But with running on a sidewalk, you're just kind of chilling. And so it really helped me stay focused and just see what my mental endurance was. And Hormozy had a post yesterday that I thought was awesome about, it's not about who you are at the start or who you are at the finish when being successful. It's about who you are in the middle. And he compared it to a marathon. Like when you start, the energy is electric. Like there is so much hype. People are so excited. And then when you finish, there's everyone cheering for you. And then in the middle of all those 26.2 miles, it's boring. Like for me, I wasn't in the front of the pack. I wasn't with like a big group. And so there'd be like 2-3 miles where you don't see practically anyone other than like the 60-year-old man that just stays at his pace and then passes you at mile 20 and you're like, dang it, like this dude's passing me. But anyways, like there it's what you can do in the middle. And I think that's one of the biggest aspects that I've taken from running is just staying in it, knowing what is to come, like knowing the celebration of winning, but also knowing, okay, like this sucks, but I got to get through it. And when I get through it, the finish line is going to be amazing.
yeah, that's good. That's good. I think that's the thing I'm most like excited about um, for this new coaching that I'm about to start doing with Matt
Mm-hmm.
is because like he's going to give me like a lot of direction, and they're like he basically will like bridge this gap of the middle for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that he's going to do the work for me, but he's going to just let me know like this is in the middle. This is what to do. And I mean, you know me, that's exactly how I work. Like, just give me something to do, I'll do it.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's
I
like,
think that's why we always worked along together so well. Is not that you're not visionary by any means, but I think if you compared the two of us, you're much more boots on the ground. I'm going to get this done, where I'm much more thoughts up in the clouds. And here's an idea. Let's see if we can get it taken care of.
yeah, for sure.
That'll be good, man.
For sure.
I'm excited for the coaching with Matt. That'll be great.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And just so people know, we're talking about Matt Morris, who we recorded a podcast with back when we were on Riverside, and
we're trying to get that up still.
Basically got deleted or something. So
it's really good.
We're hoping we get it up. But Matt Morris, out of Sarasota, Florida, great chiropractor.
Yeah. Pinnacle Wellness Center. Yeah, he's awesome. Rocking pediatric office, 10 years in, I think, ish. And he's crushing it.
Yeah.
8 or 10, give or take 2 years.
Yeah.
They just all kind of,
which is crazy because like you say that right now, but like a 2-year gap in business, I just saw, I think I could be wrong, but like Free Spirit Chiropractic, Lacey and Colton Neville out of Tulsa.
Oh, dude.
They're celebrating 5 years, and I'm like, dang, like they're still so young.
Slaying it, bro. Same thing with like Colton and Kelsey Wood in Salina.
Yep.
True Light.
3 or 4 years in. Like it's Denisa 12 years in. It's just this time under tension, but like 2 years is a huge difference now. And like looking back on it as a student, you would hear like, oh, they're in business for 3 years versus 5 years. Like, oh, they probably don't know. They probably know about the same stuff. Like, no, you learn like 2 years in the cooker that is entrepreneurship is massive.
Yeah, I think that's so big, and especially in our space, and especially with what we do, is because we're incubated so long in school that we get no experience. And so like after you come out 2 years, you have like so much more knowledge. Like that's the whole reason why I decided to go into Parker early and graduate at 24 versus 26. Because I was like, dude, like 2 years between 24 and 26, like that's a huge gap of maturity that I can like I'm gonna be a way different person, or at least I would expect to be way more mature at 26 than I am 24. And I mean, just looking back at myself now, in about to turn 26, I couldn't imagine like graduating in this December. That would be miserable. But
yeah. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, I mean, like look back at yourself 2 years ago and like the level of maturity that you were at then. And then like
that's clown.
I think about like me when I started school. I was like, dude, I was an idiot, man. Like, so then like I can't believe like, yeah, we'll go back and we'll be like, 40. That what's crazy is too, like we'll be in our mid 40s, 20 years into practice.
Yep.
You know what we can do in 20 years, like what we can build in 20 years. I mean, look at Matt. I mean, all right, so now take Matt at 10 years and then double his experience. I mean, look at Tony, look at Denisa, double their time.
Yeah.
Double their time, and that's still less than how many years my grandma taught first grade.
Yeah. And I saw this TikTok, which is not just people dancing, but I saw it was like a reminder. It was like my red flag or my toxic trait is comparing my 20-year-old self to people that are in their 40s, right? Like we were just talking about McConaughey with green lights, and like we talk about Andy Frisella a lot, or even Hormozy, who's 10 years ahead of us. Like they're like we compare ourselves to them, which at least I can get in the rut of comparing. Like, why am I not there yet? Not that I'm trying to get on like the McConaughey level by any means, but
how old is McConaughey?
52, I think he said. But even like I'll compare myself to Colton Lacey or Dylan Mon, Travis Stewart, like these people like that are pretty further ahead, which don't seem as far ahead. And I'm like, well, why am I not there yet? It's like, well, it's time under tension. Like if we were even people that you started at the same time, there's just different, you can't compare yourself to anyone, but you definitely can't compare your chapter 1 to people's chapter 10. And that's something I do a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And my little brother just like got into like working out, and like seeing him like get into working out and like hearing how he's talking and stuff, and like he'll like show me videos. He's like, this is my squat at literally was like, this was my squat at 75 pounds. And he's like, 6'15". And I was like, man. And like to think like, and he's like, you got any videos of you squatting? And I was like, yeah. And like, I showed him like this video of me doing like 340. And just like whenever you say that, no, like that's kind of like, that's what I feel like, dude. Imagine like where we were at, like, I mean, 10 years ago, I was a sophomore in high school. And so like to think like, man, like that's only 10 years, dude. And then like you had another 10, like dude, so much potential for growth. And like, I think that's what's exciting. I think for me, like being in business and like growing this practice is what is exciting, is like, like the part of doing it, like has always been the goal. The goal is like just to do it well and do it a lot. And instead of being like, I don't know, man, like I feel like we have a lot of people who we graduated with and we talk about it and like they want to have their own practice so that they can have like all of these like fancy lucrative things, and then they're like, well, like it just isn't working. It's like, dude,
Well,
you're
I
like
mean,
8 months in. You're 18 months in.
And if you don't want to hear this from us, I strongly recommend the Nick Bear podcast with the now BPN CEO,
Cat Thomas.
Cat
Oh,
Thomas.
dude, beast.
They go in, and I think there is a glorification in our society today of entrepreneurship, and I mean you got to be cut from a different cloth to really go through it. I mean, we're only 6 months in, and even still, there's a lot of businesses that 6 months, like that's a cutoff, right? And so, making it for 6 months, like you're hitting your collection goals, we're hitting our patient visit goals. There's a lot of businesses that don't make it past 6 months. There's a lot of businesses that can't make it past 2-3 years. And you just gotta stay steady. I was really thinking about it this morning on my way to a networking meeting before this podcast. I was like you said, like you enjoy networking. Like I just enjoy going, and I'm just now starting to reap the fruit of my labor. Like it's almost like now every networking meeting, or not every, but almost every networking meeting, I leave with someone being like, hey, I'm going to call the schedule today. And it's like, oh, great. Like it's getting the ball rolling, but it took me 6 months. And so there's not a lot of immediate satisfaction in this game. And I'm glad there isn't, to be honest.
Yep. Delayed gratification, man. Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day because like I was looking and like I had like a big spike week where we were like almost at 90 and then like kind of dropped back down like to 70. And then so I was thinking, I was like, dude, man. And I had like this like sense of panic for like a little bit, like, oh man, like what if like I can't let the business like just decline, like I can't let it like backslide. And like that is true in a sense, but then I like had to stop and think, and I was like, man, I'm literally panicking about being in a place. I was literally thinking, I was like, man, like what if I slide back to like 50 a week? And then I was like, I'm literally panicking about sliding back to my 6 month goal. Like I'm literally like, my dream was to be at 50 in 6 months, and I'm well ahead of that in all of the places. And I was like literally freaking out about being there. And I'm like literally ahead of like where I had anticipated. And I was like, dude, like just be grateful for that. Like, like it's so crazy to, like there are people that like we know like very well that would kill to be in the position that we're in. And so it's like, dude, taking gratitude for the process, like being just grateful for where we're at. And like, dude, it's like, it doesn't even matter. Like 6 months is so small. Like, and then as we work with kids, like I work with kids a lot.
I work with a couple of kids.
When you have a 6 month old kid, you have no expectations of that kid to do anything. Because you're like, it's just a kid. That's just what they do. We're just going to like, literally it's just supporting them as they play out.
Yeah.
And like, when you think of your business like that, because like, man, working with kids has taught me so much about business and just life in general, because like you can literally watch them evolve and develop and all those things. And like, even when your business is 2, like what are your expectations of a 2-year-old? Like not really that much. And like your business is the same living organism like that. And so even though you can want excellence for the kid, you have to understand like, okay, this is just where they're at. This is the potential I see in them.
Yeah, and that's really good.
The same thing.
That's really good. Yeah, no, that's such a great way. I do not work with babies, so I don't get to see that nearly as often. Not that I don't want to work with babies. It's just not a thing in our practice right now. And yeah, you nailed it. Like what we have this expectation of our 6 month old practice to be operating as if it's a 25-year-old. And it's like,
Yeah,
no,
10-year-old practice, like,
yeah. And even a 10-year-old practice, like, what do you expect from a 10-year-old? Still,
uh, math and
yeah, Matt, but like nothing that, not Google. You're not expecting it to run like Google. And
yeah,
so I think that, and one thing, the last thing I'll say, and then I think we got to wrap it up because I got to go. But one thing that's really helped me is you really have two decisions, right? When you see numbers start to, like, when you're spiking, especially early, it's even like lifting, right? Like with your brother lifting right now, he's going to see some big gains pretty quickly. And it's the same thing in business where you start to take off and you're like, oh, I'm at 30, I'm at 50, I'm at 60, I'm at 70. And then just like your brother he'll hit a plateau and he might go back a little bit. He's like, oh, I can't lift 135. Like, I was able to lift 135 2 weeks ago, but like, why can I not do it now? And the same thing starts to happen in business where you're like, oh, I was at 90 this week, but now we're back down to 70. And you have two options. And this is where I think a lot of people in lifting and the health and wellness realm lose. And I think it's probably, if I were to guess, where a lot of people in business lose as well. So you have two options. You could see, oh man, I was lifting 135 2 weeks ago, and now I can't lift that. This stinks. I'm going to give up, and maybe I'll come back around to this when I'm bigger or when I'm leaner or when it's the right time. Same thing in business. You're like, I'm just going to give up now. We're just going to be stuck here. I'm going to be in this crap mindset. And, if maybe I got to pay the social media company to bring us back up to 90 or whatever it might be. Or you can be like, man, this is great. Like, look at all these lessons I'm learning. Maybe I got to look at my technique a little bit more. Maybe I got to add a little bit more volume, add a little bit more to my plate as a business owner. And then boom, you're right back there. And to me, that's where a lot of the mindset training really comes from. And so that's really all I got.
Yep. If you're not willing to flex your muscle to be uncomfortable, then you'll always fall back to where it's safe and where you are comfortable, and that's where your cap will be.
Yep. Progressive
All
overload,
right.
baby. Not just a weightlifting principle, but in
That's
life.
all right. Well, yeah, I got to run as well. But dude, this was a good one. And for those of you listening, pay the fee. We don't run any ads or promote anything because we want to tell you exactly what we are thinking and not have anybody influence the thoughts that we say and the things that we promote. And if we promote a product, it means we genuinely like them. So share the show, pay the fee.
Yes,
By
please.
paying the fee, share the show, let somebody else know that you liked it. And thank you so much for listening to the What Now podcast.
And we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
That's right.